Democrats are scrambling over how to respond to President Trump's bold strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, but some critics are willing to give the president credit.
I find it hard to believe that Bush 41, Bush 43, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, go down the list. Any presidents wouldn't have felt compelled to take that strike.
This is about the best place we can be. I give extremely high marks to this national security team and President Trump for managing this crisis.
But the impeachment train is already leaving the station with AOC as its conductor.
President of the United States admitting that he unilaterally brought the United States into a war without congressional approval is a very grave public admission. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional.
The usurpation of the war powers of Congress would be an impeachable offense, would be a high crime and misdemeanor.
If we do not take immediate action, he is a would-be dictator who would become a dictator.
Guys, Congressman Al Green actually introducing articles of impeachment against Trump over the Iran strikes. A majority of Democrats joined Republicans to table the resolution, but only 79 Democrats were on board with Al Green. President Trump, in the meantime, responding to AOC's call for impeachment. It's a doozy. He said this. He called her one of the dumbest people in Congress. He questioned her test scores, said she should be forced to take a cognitive exam, and ended the epic and lengthy statement with this. Go ahead and try impeaching me again. Make my day. Emily, she has got to stop up-talking if she wants to be taken seriously. It's driving me nuts.
I know. And you know what drives me nuts further is how many people seem to not notice that and follow her anyway. It kills me. Guys, I was particularly repulsed by Rep. Jasmine Crockett's comments where she said, I'm the one that's supposed to make the effing decision on bombing Iran. And it reinforced to me why that's exactly not the case, right? We know that constitutionally that indeed it was reserved for the commander-in-chief for that reason, that we see, or at the time, commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy, but for that reason, that's the person elected by the people that we entrust those decisions to. And I feel like, first of all, it's a pretty foul mouth of her for someone that went to a tidy little all-girls Catholic school. But that's what we're seeing, is all of these representatives lashing out, trying to gain influence or attention, and they're missing the whole point because they're not thinking about this critically or the gravitas that it deserves. And everyone trying to make the war powers the declaration thing. Anyone who has any semblance of history knows that there have been plenty of actions where you have not declared war. I time traveled back to 1787, and I looked up the literal beginning U.S. Constitution Convention notes. And guys, in the debates, so the phrase to declare war, it used to say make war. And they actually specifically changed it to ensure the president could repel sudden attacks. The executive should be able to repel sudden attacks, but the legislature should declare war. That's exactly what this was. Yeah. This was a deterrent, decisive action with containment to protect American interests. And that's why it's the commander-in-chief that does that, not Crockett-in-chief.
Jesse, she dropped some history there. That's usually your role, but I will allow it. In some ways, I think this kind of helps Trump because he's blessed with the worst opposition. And every time they scream impeachment, it's like it has this law of diminishing returns. She went out and she'll fundraise off of that and make small dollar donations. But I do think it strengthens Trump politically in the long run.
If they win the House, and that's a big if, Harold, they're going to try to impeach him again. They can't help themselves. When you saw Barack Obama eliminate Osama bin Laden, what I said at the time, because I'm a slick TV news host, is that Barack Obama didn't kill bin Laden. The SEALs did. And then I gave the SEALs all the credit because I wasn't man enough to give the president credit because I'm just a shallow cable host. But why don't the Democrats do that? Why don't they say, excellent job by the Air Force, amazing job by the Navy. I mean, this is what we love about this country. You don't even talk about the president. Right. Because when they start talking about usurping war powers authority and they talk about asking for permission, they don't sound like leaders. They sound like lawyers. And even Emily will realize that sounding like a lawyer is the worst thing to sound like.
Harold, your name was invoked. I mean, you never call for impeachment. You think this is crazy. I know, but she does get a lot of attention and drives the news cycle.
And we give it to her. I think that she is not representative of where a lot of the country is, and for that matter, where a lot of my party is. I think support for the president has been bipartisan. We showed a display of Democrats who worked in previous administrations, Mr. Obama's, Mr. Biden's, Democrats who were praising what this administration did, and more importantly, praising the choreography and execution of the mission. There's been some dissent. There's been dissent on the Republican side. There's been dissent on the Democrat side. I don't think anything is wrong with that. I think where we have a challenge is when you go overboard. This was not an impeachable offense. The president made a decision to protect and defend the country. You can think that he went overboard, or the degree in which he tried to do it is questionable. I don't. But I don't think that's an impeachable offense. If indeed that is, then every decision the president makes that you disagree with that may or may not work is impeachable. Finally, the War Powers Act allows for, at least the way it's been interpreted on one or two occasions, allows for the president to act defensively, to act when we have been attacked. It does not, in some people's minds, allow him to act offensively. But sometimes we've reached a point where Democrats support Democrats when they do things if they don't get the authorization, and Republicans generally support Republicans. I hope we can have a debate about the War Powers Act outside of the context of an imminent threat, or for that matter, imminent action on the part of the country, because I think the nation would be best served to understand what it means, to understand when it is triggered, and frankly, it'll help us to discern whether or not these crazy calls for impeachment or it's legal or unconstitutional, if indeed they have any credence.
I just want to point out that we aren't the only ones who are saying that the Democrats shouldn't go down this road. Here's Charlemagne on this, Joey.
There have been a bunch of presidents who have ordered strikes without congressional approval. Barack Obama did it against Libya. Joe Biden ordered strikes in Iraq and Syria without congressional approval. Bill Clinton did it. So presidents ordering military action without congressional approval has become pretty routine. So why didn't it lead to impeachment for everybody else? Like when Barack Obama did it, when Biden did it.
Could you imagine Congress being the ones in the Situation Room at the midnight hour, like trying to make a decision? I mean, they race to the bottom on our budget every 3 months. They can't decide anything. My solution to this would be to take AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Ted Cruz, and Lindsey Graham. Maybe Thomas Massey is like the wild card, and put them in like a house with a bunch of cameras and lock them off from the rest of the world, and let them think they're fighting it. Yeah, like Gutfeld, exactly like Gutfeld's game show. And let them think they're fighting it out. And they have to come to a consensus before they can leave that house. And while they're in there, the rest of us will figure this stuff out. Because that's what they want. They want attention. You call the TV show grandstanding. And they want attention. They want to raise money. And the idea here is AOC, I think, is a little bit wiser to the game than Jasmine Crockett. AOC understands that her path to success is to be this reasonably sounding radical, that people that don't pay attention to politics just kind of likes her vibe and wants to support her. I think Jasmine Crockett will find her way there, just like Marjorie Taylor Greene has found her way to a little bit more normalcy. And then somebody else fills that void of the loudest and most obnoxious. That's what Congress is, and it's what they get.
Compelled, he felt compelled to speak up. Doozy, his response to the impeachment call was a doozy that caught everyone's attention. Foul mouth, he's known as a foul mouth in the office. Tidy, she keeps her room tidy. Semblance, there was a semblance of order during the meeting. Repel, the army was able to repel the attack. Choreography, the mission's choreography was flawless. Imminent, the storm is imminent. Race to the bottom, the companies are in a race to the bottom over wages.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.